Psychotherapist and relationship expert Dr. Mike Dow is here to share some practical, easy-to-use tips to train your brain and become your own therapist.
We are going to learn to think, act, and be happy for real. It's all within our own minds?
Yes, it is.
It's that simple, is it?
It really is.
So talk to us about how this plays out. You use many people's personal stories as examples for us to train our own brains.
Yes, that's what cognitive behavioral therapy is all about, right? So you change the way you think, you change the way you act. So the C is the cognitive, the B is the behavioral, and of course this book is a little bit different. So if you've read A Chicken Soup for the Soul book, you know that it has those inspirational stories. So every chapter has one of those stories, and you have that Me Too moment, you know, you have that inspirational moment. You have a little tear rolling down your face. I know I did when I read some of these stories. But then I take it to the next level. So I teach you how you, like the person in this story, can train your own brain to be your own therapist. If you want to be more optimistic, more joyful, have more peace, the tools, the tips, and the tricks are all in this book.
And this isn't, you know, you read it and you're done. Okay, this is great, I'm done. You have to work at this, right?
You do, and there's also places in the book where there are guided journaling exercises, there's meditations. So there are things you have to do to train your brain, but a lot of the things are fun and they're easy, and they're really step by step. So the baby steps, they're little tiny little easy ways that you can start to train your brain one day at a time as you work your way through this book.
And relatable examples that you can apply to yourself. For example, there's one where she discusses her bad habit of biting her nails.
Yeah.
You say, replace it for something else. So in her case, it was coffee.
It was coffee. So this is an example of how you change the act to change your life, right? So in this story, all she did, she had coffee with a friend, and that helped her to take away something. You know, there are other stories in the book where somebody got sober by adding in running, you know, or somebody who lost 150 pounds by tracking 8 glasses of water a day and vegetables. So, you know, it is really simple, and a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy strategies are very common sense, but the fact is that they work.
How's the best way to approach it? Yeah, when you want to make those changes, what kind of mindset should you have with it?
Yeah, well, I think you really have to grade your life on a curve, right? So, for me personally, one of the things that I struggle with in the way that I approach it is, if in a class, if you're grading on a curve, you can't have an A in everything. Not every student can get an A. So apply that principle to yourself. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to be a parent and you're going to be here at work, allow yourself to maybe be a B-plus reporter today, if it means that you're going to be an A-plus parent later. Or give a B-minus dinner party and be an A-plus reporter, right? You can't be an A-plus at everything at all times, right? And so that's an example of one of the ways that you can change the way you think. So changing the mindset that is going to help you to be a little happier, and you know, and what happens is when you lower that bar for yourself a little bit, you actually end up doing better.
That's such a liberating thing.
It is letting go,
Because you say you have that problem yourself, you have to check yourself.
I'm a
you can't
recovering
be A+ at everything.
perfectionist, yes.
Right?
So you have to change that and reframe that.
You also talk about the importance of sleep. And sleep rituals.
Yes. So I'm big on rituals. So there's a protocol called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, and I give you a lot of the tips from that protocol in this book. So there are of course, stories of people who had trouble sleeping. But for example, if you create these rituals, so 1 hour before bed, it's sort of a paradox, isn't it? That if you go to bed exactly 8 hours before you need to wake up, your mind is racing, you have those anxious thoughts. So what would happen if you just went to bed 8.5 hours? All of a sudden, your brain knows that it has that extra time. So you are now training your brain to be calm, to be relaxed, and then you fall asleep instantly. You actually don't need the extra 30 minutes, but you have it built in there, you know? And it's just about training your brain, and that's an example of a behavior that trains your brain to get more sleep. And we also know in the brain that the more you sleep, the more you're able to handle stress the next day.
Now, can you have too much? We were talking about this. Can you have too much sleep? There must be a happy spot for you, right?
I know that you like to sleep.
That's why they call me Garfield.
there is sort of that sweet spot. So most people, we want to aim, you know, for just about that 8 hours of sleep a night. It really is that sweet spot of sleep.
But how do you know when you're getting the right amount of sleep?
It's about the way you feel, you know, but a lot of people can train themselves out of it. So I know that you don't sleep a lot,
No, I
but
get 6
a lot of the
hours.
research shows in the brain that we really want to go for those 8 hours. That even if you don't feel it, that over time, that the best brain health is going to be with that 8 hours of sleep a night.
You also talk about to-do lists, and multitasking isn't the way to get it done.
No.
Focus on one thing at a time, and if you don't do the other stuff, carry it over to the next day.
Yeah, so this is how you apply mindfulness to your to-do list. So a lot of people are familiar with mindfulness meditation. They think that they have to go to a yoga studio. So here's how to apply mindfulness to your to-do list. So mindfulness, remember, is just doing one thing and only one thing at a time, right? So take that and apply it to your to-do list. So if you have a to-do list, look at what's number 1 on that to-do list. Do that thing and only that thing until you have completed that task. Then cross it off your list. Move to number 2. Same principle applies, right? Instead of trying to do everything on your to-do list, getting distracted, and then, you know, that's an example of a behavior and a way to think. It helps to boost productivity, and of course, it's one of the journal exercises in our book that helps people to sort of change their life, change their work lives, to really have more productivity and hopefully happiness at work.
Okay, for someone with ADHD,
Yeah.
trying to stay on that one, how do you target that one and stay on it? Because it's hard to get your brain focused
We
on.
do have to train our brains a little bit, right? So that's what mindfulness, which, by the way, has been shown to be effective in people with ADHD, it is really training your brain. So you can mindfully take a walk, you can mindfully work, and the more you do that, the more you are actually training your brain. Oh, wow, I can actually increase my attention span. But if you allow the brain to sort of check your phone while you're reading, while you're working on the spreadsheet, you are training your brain in the opposite way. So this book, in Think, Act, and Be Happy, we are helping you to train your brain in ways that are going to help you to be more effective, increase your attention, and happier.
Well, we could talk to you all day, but we have run out of time. Just pick up the book. It's called Think, Act, as you said, and Be Happy. For more information, just go to breakfasttelevision.ca. The link to get the book is right there. Thank you so much. Always so good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Right now, we're going to throw
Upstairs
things.
to Mel.